Hello everyone and welcome to the TradCast, the podcast that connects traditional archery enthusiasts. Today is episode number 27, and on today's show, I'm interviewing Jut Updyke of Raghorner Media Group and Wicked Ridge Outfitters of Ohio. I think everybody is really going to enjoy this conversation. Let's get right in to today's show. Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the TradCast, the podcast that connects traditional archery enthusiasts. And this show is for the week of July 8th, 2015. And I've got a really good show in store for you guys tonight. In a few moments, I'm going to break over to a recent interview I had with Jut Updyke, the founder of Raghorner Media Group. And Jut has also been doing a lot of work with Wicked Ridge Outfitters of Ohio. And tonight on the show, I talked to Jut about some tips and some ideas from him on some things that we should keep in mind when we're looking to book our next hunt with an outfitter. Jut gives us some great advice on this topic. And I also talked to Jut about a video production company he has started called Raghorner Media Group. And they are doing some great things in the world of outdoor video production. And I talked to Jut a little bit about that. But before I get into the interview with Jut, I did want to give you guys just a couple of brief updates on some things that are happening here in northern New York. Okay, guys, and I'm going to keep the updates real short this week because I want to get right into this week's interview with Jut Updyke. I think everybody's really going to enjoy this conversation, but I did want to give you guys just a couple of quick updates. And the first thing I wanted to update you guys on is a few months ago I talked about it on one of the podcasts, and I picked up a BearPaw speed glove, 3-finger shooting glove, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys a 2-month field use update on my thoughts and opinions with that shooting glove. Now, I'm really enjoying the shooting glove. It's very high quality, and it's breaking in, very, very nicely. I've shot with this shooting glove every time I've shot over the last couple of months, and I've pretty much been shooting every day of the week, minus just a couple of days. So I've got, several hundred times, shooting this glove. And like I said, a couple of things that I like about it is it breaks in very nicely. And it really just kind of forms to your hand, and once you get used to wearing this and it gets broken in, it's hard to even tell that you're wearing a shooting glove. So I really like that factor about it. And another thing that I'm really liking about it is the Velcro strap on this shooting glove is very, very high quality, and it's very durable. The first shooting glove I bought, I can't remember exactly the brand I got, but it was one of the cheaper end models. And only after a week or two of shooting, the Velcro strap on that shooting glove was getting all frayed, and it wasn't sticking very good, and I just was having a whole bunch of trouble with it. So I wanted to get another shooting glove, and I did some searching on YouTube, and I actually saw a video on this BearPaw speed glove, and I ordered one. And I've been shooting with it ever since. And tell you what, I'm really, really liking this glove. It's been very durable. I've had this thing on and off my hand now, like I said, several hundred times. The Velcro still looks and feels like the first day I got the glove. I'm actually going to be ordering another one here very soon, just as a backup, because it did take me a couple of weeks to get shipping of this glove to me. So I want to pick up another one to have as a backup, just in case for whatever reason I have issues with this one, or if I lose it, or, who knows what could happen. Anything could happen in the field. So I'm going to pick up a second one as a backup. But just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I'm really enjoying the shooting glove. If you're looking to get a new shooting glove or you want to try something different, I would recommend this BearPaw speed glove. It's also got a Gore-Tex material on the fingers, on the very fingertip portion of the glove. And tell you what, I'm getting a real good consistent grip on the string. I'm getting good releases, in my opinion. And like I said, I'm just having really good experience with this shooting glove. And I wanted to give you guys a brief 2-month update on my experiences with it. So if you're looking to get a new shooting glove or want to try something different, I would recommend giving this BearPaw a look. Okay guys, and the second update I had for you this week is I just wanted to let you guys know a couple of things that I'm doing on my food plots that I think you might find some value to. And if anyone's been following my Facebook page, Vantage Point Outdoors, you know I've been posting a lot of content on food plots. It's something I'm really into. I'm very passionate about food plots. I enjoy doing it, and there's no question that it can really help attract more animals to your property. Now, this year I devoted pretty much the overwhelming majority of my food plots to clover, and I picked up a Cub Cadet garden tractor, and I bought that, not only to mow my yard here at home, but I thought this would be a great, dual purpose purchase, and I could use this on my food plots. And I have been mowing my clover food plots now the past several weeks with my Cub Cadet garden tractor, and I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that I'm having really good results using my garden tractor. It's doing just a superb job, and if anybody out there is looking for a way to mow their food plots, certainly don't rule out something as simple as using a garden tractor. I'm having good results with mine. It's helping me keep the weeds and grasses out of my clover plots and helping me keep my clover plots very lush. And it's also saving me a lot of back-breaking work, and I'm not having to, manually mow these food plots with my weed trimmer. At least not all of them. I'm still using my weed trimmer on a few of the small ones that I simply can't get any kind of equipment into. But on my larger, 1/3, 1/2 acre size food plots, I've been using my Cub Cadet garden tractor, and it's working really well for me. And I just kind of wanted to fill you guys in on that, and just let you know that that's working for me. And if you want to think of a new way or a better way to mow your food plots, certainly don't rule out using a garden tractor. Okay guys, and as a second part of this food plot update, I wanted to also let you guys know this past weekend I tried using the Biologic Weed Reaper grass control for your perennial food plots. I just sprayed that last weekend, so I'm going to be doing some I'm going to be posting some updates on the Vantage Point Outdoors Facebook and Twitter pages. This weekend I'm going to go up and check on that food plot. Now, I only sprayed one food plot. Basically, it was it's my long, narrow logging road that I have seeded down to clover. I sprayed that entire logging road. I did it on Sunday, I believe, and I sprayed that last weekend. So I didn't want to spray all of my food plots just in case, for whatever reason, that didn't work well and I don't get the results I'm expecting. I didn't want to risk doing all of my food plots and having bad results on all of them. So I kind of did a one-time, experimental spray here to make sure that I've got my application rate down and stuff like that. I think I did. I followed the directions on the label. But just so you guys know, I'm going to be doing an update here this weekend and kind of letting you guys know how that Biologic Weed Reaper grass control is working in my clover food plots. If it works well, I'll let you guys know that in a future podcast and on the Facebook and Twitter pages. And if it doesn't work well, I'll let you guys know that too. So if you're looking to get a herbicide to apply to your clover food plots or your alfalfa food plots, any kind of a perennial food plot, stay tuned to my Facebook, Twitter pages, and future episodes of the podcast here, and I'll be giving you guys an update on my experience using this Biologic Weed Reaper grass control. So I wanted to give you guys a quick update on that also. Okay, and just the last update this week, guys, is in the next couple of days, I'm going to get another What's on My Trail Cameras video out for you guys. This is going to be the 5th one, I believe. This weekend, I also checked all of my trail cameras, and I'm going to be putting together a quick little short video, just kind of showing you guys what animals, what deer are showing up onto my properties. I do have a couple of 2.5-year-old bucks that are hanging out on one of my property, and I've got 2 or 3 other small bucks up on that farm. Small 1.5-year-old bucks, and on my other property, I've got a couple of small bucks hanging around. So still nothing really to brag about. Nothing mature showing up yet. I do have several mature does hanging around, bunch of fawns on the properties coming into the food plots, but that's just kind of a quick update. But if you guys want to see all of the photos that I put in this video, if you check back on the YouTube channel here in a couple of days, you should see that on there, and it's going to be called What's on My Trail Cameras video number 5. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update that that video will be on the YouTube channel here shortly. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to get right into this week's interview segment with Jut Updyke of Raghorner Media Group. Okay, everyone, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be interviewing Jut Updyke this evening here on the show. And tonight we're going to be talking about some things to consider when choosing to hunt with an outfitter. And I'm also going to be asking Jut some questions about his video production company, Raghorner Media Group. Welcome to the show, Jut.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I know that you contacted me a couple of weeks ago with an idea for a podcast show, and we did some collaborating, and I think we have a pretty good outline in store that I think everybody will enjoy.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I wanted to start out the show, Jut, with the same question I've asked every guest at this point, and I wanted to ask you to have you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into bow hunting.
Okay, so I grew up in upstate New York, which really isn't upstate at all, from the town of Corning, right on the Pennsylvania border, about halfway between Erie and New York City. So I had plenty of farmland and big wooded lots to be able to play in as a kid. And really getting started in archery just kind of happened. My parents didn't bow hunt. My grandfather hunted, and that really got me started on the hunting side. But as far as bow hunting, I had a neighbor that bow hunted. I was pretty interested in it, and by the age of actually 4 years old, I was shooting, and loved it and couldn't get enough of it.
Great. So you've got virtually a lifelong of experience of bow hunting, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Awesome. Now, Jut, I know that you also started your own video production company called Raghorner Media Group, and I wanted to have you share for our listeners, anybody who may not have heard of Raghorner Media Group. Can you tell us a little bit about the company, how that got started, and kind of what you guys are doing with that today?
Yeah, so when I was getting ready to graduate high school, I knew that I needed to figure something out for myself, what I was going to do for a living, what my career was going to be. And I decided to just start calling outfitters while I was a senior in high school. I was basically raised on the Primos and Drury and Realtree DVDs. I just was a fanatic about deer. I just loved big deer. And I ended up getting in touch with an outfitter in south central Kansas down in Stafford County. And he said, yeah, I'd love to have you. So I enrolled in a college out there. I think I'm the first person to travel 1,300 miles to go to a community college. But I wanted to get a business degree, and I tried to do both, but by the time the rut started, college needed to take a back seat. I just was just in heaven. Big deer all the time, running cameras, and tons of property. I believe at the time he was over 20,000 acres. And I met Jesse and Ginger Moorhead at a gas station. I had followed them very closely, both in the hunting world and the 3D archery world. And, I just kind of nerved up the courage and went over and introduced myself, not realizing that a year later they would ask me to run the camera one evening. And on that particular evening, Jesse killed a 171. And I had no tree arm. I had no education on camera. I'd fooled around with it being younger, but I was in total shock. And that was the closest I'd ever personally been to a booner. And at that time, it was just like, holy crap. I didn't even know what to think. And they saw the excitement, saw that I didn't butcher it too bad, and said, well, man, we're looking at another camera person. Would you like to come over here full time and travel with us? And so that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. That's a great story. Just for the record, I certainly share in your passion for big deer, and being grown up on the Drury Outdoors DVDs and all those. I've got a library at home full of all those, and certainly sharing your passion with that, and a great story there. Now, Jut, I know you also are currently today playing a role with Wicked Ridge Outfitters in Ohio, and I wanted to have you share, for the listeners, a little bit about the role you play for them, and a little bit about the operation they have running there in Ohio.
Yeah, so actually, this story starts a couple years ago, where when I became a camera person, I was obviously in a volley there where that's it. I was a camera guy. I couldn't do outfitting at the same time, as well as, play my role as a cameraman, and depending on the year, 10 to 13 states. So I really got to travel, and I got to travel on someone else's dime because I was supposed to be there anyway, but that allowed me to narrow down the places where my first passion came from, the biggest whitetails. And I knew there was going to come a time where I had to settle down, and I really, really, really liked two major areas. Well, three actually. Southeast Iowa, South Central Kansas, and Holmes, Knox County, Ohio. I really liked the area. So to kind of speed up things, I went from being a cameraman to starting to dabble with the editing. Really did it behind closed doors. Nobody really knew that I was even working on it. And the last year Jesse and Ginger actually did a show, I produced it. I fully produced it, the commercials, the episodes, everything. And that allowed me to then have more to offer. So instead of coming to an outfitter where margins are already very tight, I wanted to be able to offer marketing, advertising, plus I can be your guide too. And through those endeavors, I met just tons of people, and it opened a lot of doors for me. One, importantly, with someone that, if you're a big buck addict, then you've probably heard of Ben Rising. Ben owns Wicked Ridge Outfitters here in Holmes County. He extended an opportunity to me to move my family out. I have a 4-year-old and a girlfriend, and he said, you move your family out here, we'll run the outfitting business, and I totally dig what you're doing with the media thing, so I'd like to join that with you and help you out. So right now, currently, we operate Wicked Ridge Outfitters throughout Holmes County, Knox County. We've got farms in Coshocton County, Morrow County, Licking County. It's getting big in a quick hurry, and our idea behind outfitting is fairly unique in the sense that we only want to kill the biggest deer, meaning that the 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, when possible, that's what we would rather be shot. So we're hinging somewhere in the ballpark of 30 farms, but yet we've only booked 30, I believe this morning, and when I was looking, I think we've booked 36 hunters. And we're okay with that. We are totally good with that. We don't need more. We have some openings, but at this point in the game, we feel very confident at the way that we have things structured that, one, we're not going to overhunt a single one of our farms. B, we're not going to overkill on any single one of our farms.
Very nice. Yeah, you certainly can't think of big buck hunting in big buck states without thinking about Ohio. I've actually hunted Ohio, the last 3 or 4 years myself. A few times with an outfitter in the central part of the state, and of course I've hunted on some state property too. And certainly a big change from what I'm accustomed to hunting up here at home in northern New York. But Ohio is a great state, and I certainly wish you well with the endeavors out there in Ohio. Now, that's a great segue into the next question that I had for you, and I wanted to ask you, what are some of the factors that someone needs to consider when they're, looking to book a hunt with an outfitter?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Throughout the years, I've got to meet hundreds of hunters through camps. One of the things that I feel that you have to be just honest with yourself as a hunter. I've gotten the phone calls before of people calling up, and they're like, hey, never done this before. What can I expect? Right to a guy calling and saying, I'm looking for a 180 with some sticker points. So I feel like the outfitting is too general when you say I go with an outfitter. Some of the things to keep in mind, and you and I had actually discussed this, which I believe would be a great time to bring it up, is traditional bow hunters. This isn't just for traditional bow hunters. This covers all bow hunters, in my opinion. And this is how I want to, back to what I was saying with being honest to yourself. Have you killed 130-inch deer before? Have you killed, 5 or 6 in the 150s before? That's something that needs to be evaluated as a hunter because, when you come into an operation like we have, it's not that you're not going to see tons of trail cam pictures online from us. We're very private in that sense. But when you get there, we're not saying like, here's some stands, have fun, and make sure it's 130. You're hunting specific deer with us. Deer that we've chosen to be ready to go. That could be a 7.5-year-old corn tooth 148 pointer, or that could be a 185, 190-inch 6.5-year-old deer that's ready to go. So the other extreme of that is you have outfitters that advertise 130 minimum, or some outfitters have no minimum. So when you're looking at hunting, I don't think it's necessarily a price thing, although that's what everybody seems to, that's like the first thing, how much are your hunts? But to a guy that's not concerned with that, you're not going to, in a fair chase hunting world, you're not going to have a $10,000 hunt and a $2,000 hunt in the same bucket. They're two very different things. I feel like with a traditional archer and a bow hunter, first things first, be honest with yourself. What are you looking to hunt? If you've never killed, a deer over 110 inches, or maybe you've killed one in the 120s and tiles a deer in the 120s, what are you looking for yourself? Maybe you're not the guy to come to Wicked Ridge. If you've never killed a 130, 140, and that's not to say that you're a bad hunter, that you don't know anything. I'm saying when we show you a picture of a 170-inch deer and say, this is what we're looking for, now keep in mind this 160-inch 10-point, he's only 4.5. We need you to let him go. That's the true test of self-control, and I'll be first to be honest with you. I didn't have that even as years as a camera person. I still get gummy as all get out. But as a traditional bow hunter, to get more specific, I think that's where you need to be more honest with yourself under the situation of, we're going to ask of you to kill certain deer. We are close to these deer. We are on these deer. You're not hunting them unless they're already making daylight appearances and mistakes. But more importantly, you're constricted a little bit with your equipment. You're not going to be like some of the compound archers of today, or even crossbow hunters that 35-yard shots fairly common. So shooting wise, it's kind of all the same. I don't care with any outfitter you go to. as far as relation to the equipment. But, back to being the whole speaking in generality of archers and bow hunters, I think it's all in what you're ready for as a hunter.
Yeah, a couple of great points here that you brought up. I like how you touched on the fact that, like you said, if you haven't ever shot a deer, if you've never seen, many deer in that 150, 170 range, and all of a sudden you've got, one strolling in on you during a hunt, I can certainly see where it would be very difficult to, like I said, keep those emotions in check and not let that situation get the better of you, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and another thing that I really want to touch on is, I find a touchy subject to where, hunters kind of knock hunters and, first, I don't join in those conversations by any means, and I absolutely hate seeing them. But one of the things is, everything is in relation to where you're at. I can take you 30 minutes from here, and you're in with outfitters. Not even. I can take you 20 minutes from where our hub is and have you with outfitters that their biggest buck of the year might be 150. Or a 160, just a bloomer just that jumped in. And, that's all in the management practice. That's all in your, discipline as an outfitter of what you're, trying to attract as far as what you're doing. We kind of look at the outfitting business as that's, Ben refers to them, they're my deer. They're my deer. And, he's taking care of them. Most of these deer, he has reports for them for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And so, that's a whole new level of ball game.
Yeah, no question about it, for sure. Now, that kind of also segues into the next question that I wanted to ask you, Jut, and that is, you've been talking about, your operation there in Ohio focusing on, targeting these very upper age class mature bucks. Now, in your opinion, is there anything that a hunter can do strategically to increase their chances of taking a mature buck when they're hunting with an outfitter?
I'm sorry. I was getting some feedback from you.
Okay.
What was the question?
What I was wondering is there anything in particular that a hunter can do, from a strategic standpoint to help increase their opportunities at getting an opportunity at one of those big mature bucks when they are hunting with that outfitter?
That's really that's a loaded topic. I think, as a hunter, if you are going on a hunt, if you've already booked your hunt, you've chosen your outfitter, you're all in at that point. I think the biggest thing, that we ask as outfitters personally is that, if you're shady with your bow, if you know that you're going to get gummy and you're going to get razzled, but you have a crossbow, bring what you're comfortable with. We want you to enjoy it. But, it's all in generality speaking. I mean, trust your outfitter, trust your guide, and, we just ask that you come prepared on the hunt and ask questions. I'll never get upset about a guy asking a question.
Yeah, there's some great tips there. I mean, you certainly have to, put some trust in, said the guys working at the operation who are there 365 days a year, pattern these deer and, managing the property. They're certainly going to have, more insight than you're going to have, showing up there for, a week to hunt. So that's certainly a great tip. Now, another question that I wanted to ask you, Jut, is from a traditional bow hunting standpoint specifically, is there anything that a traditional bow hunter might want to consider when he's looking to maybe book a hunt with an outfitter?
Yeah, I think once again it falls back into the, I'll start with what you're ready for. There's some phenomenal traditional archers out there. I've been privileged to shoot with a few actually. That can make those further shots. It's all what you're comfortable with. It's all in what you're ready for, I would say, as, age class. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that, being from New York, and I'm 27 years old, but, I have got had my share of opportunities with big deer, although most of them have been behind a camera or from the guides, wearing a guide hat for the day. But it is awful hard to have 100 40-inch deer walk by you that's 3.5 years old. I understand it. But it's all in relativity to where you're booking your hunt. You know, the old saying, you know, you get what you pay for. Well, I feel the same way about outfitters. You know, we run a very strategic system. You know, Ben has done a very, very good job over the years, and I'm, you know, very, very humbled and excited to get to work with him. You know, I definitely look up to him in a very, very big way. But getting back to try to be more specific on the traditional archer standpoint, I think that, you know, traditional archers look for the closer shot. Well, you know, that can be accommodated for to an extent. You don't want deer on top of you, you know, even if you are using, you know, let's just say, you know, baiting is legal in Ohio and you are using corn to, you know, and your targeted deer just happens to have that sweet tooth and he is a daylight walker, chances are he's not the first one to the corn. And he's not going to be the first one there to feed. So you're going to have to put up with yearling bucks, 2-year-old bucks, 3-year-old bucks, and a plethora of does and fawns. And so we try to keep the corn, you know, 25 to 35 yards. You know, that way you have a little bit of distance to where you're not sitting there and, you know, tied up in strings for an hour and a half, and then you got to try to get your bow. So I think as a traditional archer, it really does fall into the same category. We as outfitters can't really prepare for it. You know, if a guy says, I'm a traditional archer, what are you going to do for me? It's kind of like, I as an outfitter am not really doing anything different because you're still making the shot. You're still, you know, if your match yardage is 15 yards, then that's something I'm going to definitely have to pay some attention to, and, you know, I'm going to be nervous about. But, you know, traditional archery, you know, right to, you know, the archers that are hunting today, I feel like everybody in today's world makes a 25 to 30 yard shot, and, you know, as long as you're okay with that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you've got to be, you know, especially from a traditional archery standpoint, you've got to be at your A game. You know, I would think if you're gonna, you know, take your hunt to an outfitter and, you know, get yourself in some of these longer shot situations. I mean, this is my first year shooting a traditional bow, and, you know, I'm steadily getting better as the days and weeks go by. But, you know, in under 20 yards, I feel very confident today. But if I was to get out there, you know, 25, 30, 35 yards, I mean, I can make that shot, but I can't make that shot every time. And I wouldn't want to risk that kind of an opportunity, you know, at any animal. But, you know, I'd certainly one of those, you know, upper age class animals that you might find with an experienced outfitter for sure. So definitely a lot of things to take in for any bow hunter, but specifically for a guy carrying the traditional gear. Now, Judd, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions too about Raghorner Media Group, and I know that you touched on it a little bit earlier in the show, but I wanted to have you go over, you know, what are some of the projects that you guys are working on for the 2015 season and beyond.
So Raghorner Media Group was formerly Raghorner Productions, which was just me. It was a film and edit scenario. It was allowing me to cultivate and, you know, really do some pioneering. And the funny thing was I stayed clouded for a very long time that, well, I do hunting. And, you know, I realized that there was a huge market out there. One of the first people that I really brought in was a young guy that just wanted to film. And I knew that I needed a place to go with this footage. And, you know, one of the main projects that Raghorner Media Group has now is Whitetail Diaries, Raghorner's Whitetail Diaries. And I created that under the realization that there are people out there that are, you know, have that dream. I would love to have my own show, or, you know, I'd really like to film my hunts and have them show up somewhere. But that's a very large commitment, especially, you know, if you're going to take it serious. And it's a long road. You know, starting with, first of all, you got to get the hunts on film. And then you've got to have someone to edit. Well, Whitetail Diaries, what that is that's an opportunity for people that wish they had a show, or maybe it's a group of guys that are avid hunters and want to start sharing their memories with others. This gives them a place to bring their footage. Once you're in to Whitetail Diaries. And what we do as Raghorner Media Group is pick the topics, create the shot list, teach filming, teach the fundamentals of filming, rule of thirds, lighting, how to get specific shots in general. We go over every month, there's different things. But what we do is we provide the teams with a shot list, we provide, direction, and let the teams create themselves. I mean, it really is. It's like proud dad moment, even though some of the guys are older than I am. It's where you see these guys evolving as field producers, such as, the teams Adirondack Bow Hunters. Adam and Heather do a phenomenal job through Adirondack Bow Hunters through social media. The other side of the world is Hunters Creek. They've been there the longest with Whitetail Diaries. Paul and Jamie and Ryan Van Loo, all of that crew, they do a great job. I mean, if you were around for this last turkey season, the episodes can be found on YouTube and Vimeo, but they smashed the birds. They're in western New York, over in Erie County area, Niagara County, Buffalo. That's where they're located. Then you come right down in the Steuben-Chemung County, and you have the youngest group, and the newest group to Whitetail Diaries, 607 Outdoors, which is comprised of Andrew Miller and Sam Rorda. So these guys are all waiting on direction. They're out filming their Whitetail Diary of what's going on. I mean, we currently run these episodes monthly. They get sped up a little bit during hunting season, but they're all on a focus. We are actually currently filming now for our next episode of where it's going to happen. And what that is each team is out showing, via map, if it's an obvious pinch point, or whether it's a known food plot that's produced. History has shown that always produces a good deer. Or maybe it's a big oak flat up on a hillside, and they're going to drop a couple trees to channel movement to a certain part of the ridge for a specific wind. So it really is, for me as an editor, it is so much fun, because I get to teach people my passion of filming, but then I also get to revisit the earlier years of my career as a camera person and how much fun it was. Not that it's not fun now, but now things are a lot more serious for me, especially as an editor and now with the outfitting. But it's so much fun. Some of the other projects that we do, I mean, we've done restaurants, websites, we've done restaurant, website, and films, and all the photography. It's a one-stop shop, really, for any type of business. We've done things, like I said, as small as a restaurant, all the way up to, large CNC companies, car dealerships, local malls, anything in between. I mean, from hunting to, a nail salon. We'll do it. Same cameras, camo and proud.
Very nice, yeah. I've checked out several of your guys' videos, and you're doing a great job there. Top-notch, production quality. And the one thing that I like about what you guys are doing is, like you touched on, you're giving an opportunity to, some of the smaller, teams out there that are, a little bit less known about, that probably aren't on TV and stuff currently, but there's certainly a lot of passionate guys out there, into this sort of thing. I dabble into it a little bit myself through the Vantage Point Outdoors Facebook page. It's pretty much more or less a way for me to, share my own personal experiences and some tips that I, like to get out to the people that follow along with me there on YouTube. But I'm looking forward to following along with more from what you guys have going on this year. Now, for anybody listening who may not be familiar, where could they go to learn more about Raghorner Media Group and Wicked Ridge Outfitters?
So both businesses can be found via directly our website, wickedridgeoutfitters.com and raghornermediagroup.com. On Facebook, Wicked Ridge Whitetail Outfitters of Ohio. on Facebook. Raghorner Media Group is on Facebook, as well as Raghorner's Whitetail Diaries. Some of the things that are to come that are also joint between RMG and Wicked Ridge Outfitters and Raghorner is we are getting ready in Whitetail Diaries to start a very, very exciting platform, being that we are going to start giving away a lot of projects. We now have a title sponsor with Barrett's Bow Hunting, and we have worked out some phenomenal deals. I'm talking bow giveaways, arrows, sights, rest, releases, targets, you name it. It's all going to be for the public. It's all free to enter, and it is just to bring people in and realize that there's a lot more out there than, you know, some of these shows that people watch that they can't even begin to relate to. Well, all of these groups, all of the teams are in New York. These deer are right in your own backyard. Another thing that is getting ready to start is Ben is starting his own show called Whitetail Edge. Whitetail Edge is we're going to show up on some other TV shows, but I can't really release that yet. But Whitetail Edge is going to be a focus on. It's going to be topic based for the whitetail enthusiast. You know, this is going to be extremely in depth. This is going inside of, you know, Ben's head of how he kills specific deer, as well as one of the great points of Wicked Ridge is our main rule: don't get down and track your deer until one of us gets there. Well, when one of us gets there, we're also poking the camera. So we get these hunters' original reactions. Now, those will be shorts that will be released through Facebook and, you know, through the website and things like that. But these deer, Ben is going to, once they are dead, once these bucks have been harvested, Ben is going to revert then and tell the story and the tactic used for each one of these animals, as well as his own. That is going to be, I think that is going to be a huge thing that people are really going to get a lot out of. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, or even advanced hunter, Whitetail Diaries is going to entertain you through that side of things. If you're more of a hardcore, big buck enthusiast that really wants to sink his teeth into killing these bigger deer, then you have Whitetail Edge, and all of it comes out of Raghorner Media Group.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. I can't get enough when it comes to you know, hearing about, you know, strategically how, you know, big bucks or even any deer, you know, is taken. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that in the future. Jut, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be on the show. I took a lot from it, really enjoyed the show, and I'm sure the listeners did also. And I'll look forward to keeping up with you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you're doing a great job with it, and all the power to you, man. I'm looking forward to following you through the year as well.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I'll talk to you later, Jut.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Yes, take care.
Okay.
All right, guys, well, there you have it. A look back at my recent interview with Jut Updyke. I hope everybody enjoyed that interview as much as I enjoyed talking to Jut about those topics. Now, I'm also going to be leaving down some links in the show notes here. So if you guys want to find out more information about Raghorner Media Group, and if you want to find out more information about Wicked Ridge Outfitters of Ohio, scroll down through the show notes. You'll be seeing some links there. Again, I want to thank Jut for taking the time to be on this week's show. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope everybody took a thing or two from this week's podcast. I've only got one last reminder for everybody. If you enjoy what we're doing here with the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could jump on over to iTunes, leave us a quick review. It's a great way for me to not only help get this podcast out to more people, so hopefully we can start helping more people out, but it's also going to be a great way for me to continue to get great guests like Jut Updyke here on the show. And as always, I want to thank everybody who took the time to tune into this week's show. I'm going to see you next week right here on an all-new episode of the TradCast.